हेलो स्टूडेंट्स, आज हम स्टार्ट करने जा रहे हैं चैप्टर सेकंड नेशनलिज्म इन इंडिया। इस वीडियो के अंदर आप हर तरह के क्वेश्चन आंसर कर सकते हैं। शॉर्ट क्वेश्चंस, लॉन्ग क्वेश्चंस, एनसीईआरटी क्वेश्चन, पिक्चर बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस और मैप। सो इस वीडियो में अगर आप पूरा देखते हैं इस वीडियो को तो आप टोटल रिवीजन कर सकते हैं चैप्टर सेकंड। सो विदाउट वेस्टिंग टाइम लेट्स स्टार्ट द क्वेश्चंस। Question number 1 says, when and from where did Mahatma Gandhi return to India? Answer to question number 1 is, Mahatma Gandhi returned to India from South Africa in January 1915. Question number 2 says, at what places in India did Mahatma Gandhi organize the Satyagraha struggles? Answer to question number 2 is, in 1917, Gandhiji organized Satyagraha in Champaran, Bihar. In 1918, he organized Satyagraha in Kheda and Ahmedabad in Gujarat. Question 3 says, when and by whom the book In Swaraj written? Answer number 3 is, Mahatma Gandhi wrote the book in year 1909. Question number 4 says, what powers did the Rowlatt Act give to the British government? Answer to question number 4 is, the British colonial government passed the Rowlatt Act, which gave powers to the police to arrest any person or political leaders without any reason and can be kept in prison without trial for 2 years. Question number 5 says, when did the Jallianwala Bagh incident took place? Answer to question number 5 is 13 April 1919. Question number 6 says, name a few leaders associated with Khilafat movement. Answer to question number 6 is, the Khilafat movement was launched under the leadership of Ali brothers, Maulana Muhammad Ali and Maulana Shaukat Ali, along with Maulana Azad, Hakim Ajmal Khan and Hasrat Mohani. Question number 7 says, when was the Auth Kisan Sabha set up? Who headed the Sabha? Answer to question number 7 is, the Auth Kisan Sabha was set up in October 1920. It was led by Jawaharlal Nehru and Baba Ramchandran. Question number 8 says, what did Mahatma Gandhi do to oppose the Rowlatt Act? Answer to question number 8 is, the act came like a sudden blow to the Indians who were expecting self-governance. Gandhiji appealed to the Viceroy to withhold his consent to such measures. However, his appeal was ignored. He started Satyagraha as a challenge to the Con. Question 9 says, when and by whom was the demand for Purna Swaraj formalized? Answer to question number 9 is, in December 1929, under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, the Lahore Congress formalized the demand of Purna Swaraj or full independence for India. Question number 10 is, who formed the Swaraj Party? Answer to question number 10 is, Swaraj Party was formed by members of Indian National Congress, notably Motilal Nehru and Chittaranjan Das, who had opposed Mahatma Gandhi's suspension of civil disobedience in 1922. Question number 11 says, which event marked the beginning of civil disobedience movement? Answer to question number 11 is, the Dandi March. Question number 12 is, what was the Inland Emigration Act of 1859? Answer to question number 12 is, the Inland Emigration Act of 1859 forced the workers to stay back at the tea gardens. They were not allowed to leave the gardens without permission, nor were they given the permission to do so. Question number 13 says, when was the Pune Pact signed? Who were the signatories? What was its result? Answer to question number 13 is, the Pune Pact was signed by Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. B. R. Ambedkar in September 1932. As a result of this act, the depressed classes were granted reserved seat in the provincial and central legislative council. Question number 14 is, which industrial organization were set up to organize the business interest? Answer to question number 14 is, first point is, Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920. Second option is Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries FICCI in 1927. Question number 15 says, who were the Harijans? Answer to question number 15 is, the Harijans were the untouchables. This name, which meant God's children, was given to them by Mahatma Gandhi. Question number 16 says, what major problem was faced in way cultural influence was used to unify the Indian masses? Answer to question number 16 is, when the past was being glorified, the stories and iconography used were primarily Hindu, which made the other communities feel left out and created a feeling of discrimination. Question number 17 says, who created the first image of Bharat Mata? What other creations did the same artist created? Answer to question number 17 is, the first image of Bharat Mata was created by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. His other creations were the song Vande Mataram and the book of Anandamath. Question number 18 says, who painted the first famous image of Bharat Mata? How was the image portrayed? Answer to question number 18 is, the first famous image of Bharat Mata was painted by Abhindranath Tagore. The image was that of an aesthetic figure. She is composed, calm, spiritual and divine by nature. Question number 19 says, who designed the Swaraj flag? What were its characteristics? Answer to question number 19 is, the Swaraj flag was designed by Mahatma Gandhi in 1921. Apart from being tricolor, red, green and white, it also had a spinning wheel in the center, depicting the Gandhian idea of self-help. Question number 20 says, what were the characteristics of the tricolor created in Bengal during the Swadeshi movement? Answer to question number 20 is, the characteristic of tricolor created by Swadeshi movement were, the color were red, green and yellow. 8 lotuses represented 8 provinces of British India. A crescent-shaped moon symbolizing Hindu-Muslim unity. Question number 21 says, what was the result of the Jallianwala Bagh incident? Answer to question number 21 is, as a result of the Jallianwala Bagh incident, people all around the country were enraged, strikes were organized, and government buildings were attacked. There were clashes among the people and the police. To suppress the uprising, the protesting masses were brutally oppressed and humiliated. Villages were bombed, and the satyagrahis were forced to rub their noses on the ground and crawl on the streets. Due to the violent uprising, Mahatma Gandhi called out a disobedience movement. Question 22 says, what is the meaning of begar? Answer to question number 22 is, meaning of begar is labor that villagers were forced to contribute without any payment. Question number 23 says, name the writer of the novel Anandamath. Answer to question number 23 is Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. Question 24 is, who financed the defense expenditure of World War I? Answer to question number 24 is, war was financed by war loans and increasing taxes. Custom duties were raised and income tax was introduced. Question number 25 is, why were people in rural areas angry with Britishers? Answer to question number 25 is, there was forced recruitment of soldiers in rural areas. Crops failed, resulting in acute shortage of food, accompanied by influenza epidemic. Question number 26 is, how did the British government respond to protest, clashes and attacks by the Indian against the Jallianwala Bagh incident? Answer to question number 26 is, first is, the government responded with brutal repression. Second is, seeking to humiliate and terrorize people, satyagrahis were forced to rub their noses on the ground. Third is, they were forced to crawl on the streets and do salam, which is salutes to the all sahibs. People were flogged and villages around Gujranwala in Punjab were bombed. Question number 27 is, explain the idea of satyagraha. Answer to question number 27 is, the idea of satyagraha emphasizes the power of truth and the need to search for the truth. Question number 28 is, how can battles be fought with Satyagraha? Answer to question number 28 is, idea of Satyagraha suggested that if the cause is true, if the struggle is against injustice, then physical force is not necessary to fight the oppressor. Without being aggressive, battle could be won. Question number 29 is, what was Champaran movement? Answer to question number 29 is, it was the first Satyagrahi movement that took place in 1916, in which Mahatma Gandhi travelled to Champaran to inspire the indigo planters to struggle against the oppressive plantation system. Question number 30 says, why did Kheda farmers protest against Britishers? Answer to question number 30 is, affected by crop failure and a plague epidemic, the peasants of Kheda could not pay the revenue and demanded that revenue collection be released. Question number 31 is, what was Rowlatt Act of 1919? Answer to question number 31 is, it gave the British government enormous power to repress political activities and allowed detention of political prisoners without trial for 2 years. Question 32 says, what was Mahatma Gandhi's reaction on Rowlatt Act? Answer to question number 32 is, Mahatma Gandhi wanted non-violent civil disobedience against such unjust laws, which would start with a hartal on 6 April. Question 33 is, how did people react to Rowlatt Act? Answer to question number 33 is, rallies were organized in various cities, workers went on strike in railways, workshops, and shops were closed down. Alarmed by the popular upsurge, British started arresting the nationalists. Question number 34 is, why was martial law imposed in Amritsar? Answer to question number 34 is, local leaders were picked up from Amritsar and Mahatma Gandhi was not allowed to enter Delhi. On 10th April, the police in Amritsar fired upon a peaceful procession, provoking widespread attacks on banks, post offices, and railway stations. So martial law was imposed. Question number 35 is, why did General Dyer fire on innocent people gathered peacefully in Jallianwala Bagh? Answer to question number 35 is, his object was, as he declared, was to produce a moral effect and to create the feeling of terror and awe in the minds of the Satyagrahis. Question number 36 says, mention any 3 efforts made by Gandhiji to get Harijans their right. Answer to question number 36 is, first point is, he said that the Swaraj would not come for 100 years if untouchability was not eliminated. Second point is, he organized Satyagraha to secure them entry into temples and access to public wells, tanks, roads and schools. Point number 3 is, he signed Pune Pact with Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, through which some seats were reserved for them in provincial and central legislative council. Question number 37 is, what did British do to repress the Rowlatt Satyagrahis? Answer to question number 37 is, Satyagrahis were forced to rub their noses on the ground, crawl on the streets, and to do salam to all sahibs. People were flogged and villages were bombed. Question 38 is, why did Mahatma Gandhi join Khilafat issue? Answer to question number 38 is, Mahatma Gandhi now felt the need to launch a more broad-based movement in India, but he was certain that no such movement could be organized without bringing the Hindus and Muslims closer together. One way of doing this, he felt, was to take up the Khilafat issue. Question number 39 is, explain the Khilafat movement. Answer to question 39 is, Turkey was defeated in World War I and there were rumors that a harsh peace treaty was going on to be imposed on Ottoman Emperor, the spiritual head of the Islamic world. To defend the Khalifa's temporal powers, a Khilafat committee was formed in Bombay. Question number 40 says, who were the 2 main leaders of the Khilafat movement? Answer to question number 40 is, 2 young brothers, Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali, started Khilafat movement. Question number 41 is, What resolution was passed at Calcutta session of Congress in September 1920? Answer to question number 41 is, at the Calcutta session of Congress in September 1920, Gandhiji convinced other leaders of the need to start a non-cooperation movement in support of Khilafat as well as Swaraj. Question number 42 is, why many Congress leaders were reluctant to boycott council elections? Answer to question number 42 is, they were reluctant to boycott council elections scheduled for November 1920, as they feared if they would join non-cooperation movement, it might lead to popular violence. Question number 43 is, what decision was made in Congress session at Nagpur in December 1920? Answer to question number 43 is, at the Congress session at Nagpur in December 1920, a compromise was worked out and the non-cooperation movement was adopted. Question number 44 is, why were council elections not boycotted in Madras? Answer to question number 44 is, the council elections were boycotted in most provinces except Madras, where the Justice Party, the party of non-Brahmins, felt that entering the council was one way of gaining some power, something that usually only Brahmins had access to. Question number 45 says, what was the impact of reduction of imports? Answer to question number 45 is, as the boycott movement spread and people began discarding imported clothes and wearing only Indian ones, production of Indian textile mills and handlooms went up. Question number 46 is, why did people start buying mill cloth instead of khadi? Answer to question number 46 is, khadi cloth was often more expensive than mass-produced mill cloth, and poor people could not afford to buy the khadi cloth. Question number 47 is, why did boycott of British institution pose a problem? Answer to question number 47 is, for the movement to be successful, alternative Indian institution had to be set up so that they could be used in place of the British ones. But these were slow to come up, and the teachers and the students started trickling back to the government schools. Question number 48 is, why did Awadh movement of peasants begin? Answer to question number 48 is, the movement was against talukdars and landlords who demanded from peasants exorbitant rents and a variety of other taxes. Peasants had to do begar and work at landlord's farm without any payment. Question 49 is, what were the demands of peasants in Awadh? Answer to question number 49 is, the peasant movement demanded reduction of revenue, abolition of begar, and social boycott of oppressive landlords. Question number 50 is, how was Awadh Kisan Sabha formed? Answer to question number 50 is, in June 1920, Jawaharlal Nehru began going around the villages in Awadh, talking to the villagers and trying to understand their grievances. By October, the Awadh Kisan Sabha was set up, headed by Jawaharlal Nehru, Baba Ramchandra, and a few others. Question number 51 is, how was Awadh movement materialized? Answer to question number 51 is, as the movement spread in 1921, the houses of talukdars and merchants were attacked, bazaars were looted, and grain hoards were taken over. Question number 52 is, which movement of Andhra Pradesh did Mahatma Gandhi join in non-cooperation movement? Answer to question number 52 is, in the Gudem hills of Andhra Pradesh, a militant guerrilla movement spread in the early 1920s. It is not a form of struggle that the Congress would approve. Question number 53 is, why was this movement started in Andhra? Answer to question number 53 is, here in Gudem Hills, the colonial government had closed large forest areas, preventing people from entering the forest to graze their cattle or to collect fuel woods and fruits. This enraged the hill people. Question 54 is, what do you know about Alluri Sitaram Raju? Answer to question number 54 is Alluri Sitaram Raju was the leader of Andhra movement. He claimed that he had a variety of special powers. He could make correct astrological predictions and heal people. He could even survive bullet shots. Question 55 is, to what extent was Raju inspired by Mahatma Gandhi? Answer to question number 55 is, Raju talked of the greatness of Mahatma Gandhi. Said he was inspired by the non-cooperation movement and persuaded people to wear khadi and give up drinking. But at the same time, he asserted that India could be liberated only by the use of force and not non-violence. Question 56 is, what action was taken by the tribals of Woodham Hills in their movement? Answer to question number 56 is, the Woodham rebels attacked police stations, attempted to kill British officials, and carried on guerrilla warfare for achieving Swaraj. Question 57 says, what did freedom mean to plantation workers in Assam? Answer to question number 57 is, for plantation workers in Assam, freedom meant the right to move freely in and out of the confined space in which they were enclosed, and it meant retaining a link with the village from which they had come. Question 58 says, when and why was the Pune Pact signed? Answer to question number 58 is, first point is, Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar was nominated as a delegate of the oppressed classes for the second roundtable conference. Point number 2 is, in that roundtable conference, he clashed with Mahatma Gandhi by demanding separate electorates for Dalits. Point number 3 is, when the British government accepted Ambedkar's demand, Gandhiji began a fast unto death. He believed that separate electorates for Dalits would slow down the process of their integration into society. Point number 4 is, the issue was eventually resolved through the Pune Pact of September 1932. Point number 5 is, it gave the depressed class, which were later known to be as scheduled caste, reserved seats in the provincial and central legislative council, but they were to be voted by the general electorate. Question 59 is, what was Inland Emigration Act of 1859? Answer to question number 59 is, under the Inland Emigration Act of 1859, plantation workers were not permitted to leave the tea gardens without permission, and in fact, they were rarely given such permission. Question number 60 is, how did plantation workers of Assam react to non-cooperation movement's call? Answer to question number 60 is, when they heard of the non-cooperation movement, thousands of workers defied the authorities, left the plantations, and headed home. They believed that Gandhi Raj was coming and everyone would be given land in their own villages. Question 61 says, what was the tale of Assam plantation workers when they left? Answer to question number 61 is, they however never reached their destination. Stranded on the way by a railway and steamer strike, they were caught by the police and brutally beaten up. Question 62 is, what was Chauri Chaura movement? Answer to question number 62 is, it took place in Gorakhpur, Chauri Chaura, when a peaceful demonstration in a bazaar turned into a violent clash with the police. Then those demonstrators went to the police station, locked the policemen inside, and put the police station on fire, burning about 11 policemen alive. Hearing of the incidents, Mahatma Gandhi called off the non-cooperation movements. Question 63 is, why Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off non-cooperation movement? Answer to question number 63 is, in February 1922, Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. He felt the movement was turning violent in many places, and satyagrahis needed to be properly trained before they could be ready for mass struggles. Question number 64 is, who formed Swaraj Party? Answer to question number 64 is, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru formed the Swaraj Party within the Congress to argue for a return to council politics. Question 65 is, Which two factors shaped Indian politics towards the late 1920s? Answer to question number 65 is, first one is the effect of worldwide economic depression. Second is agricultural prices began to fall from 1926 and collapse after 1930. Question number 66 says, why was countryside in turmoil by 1930? Answer to question number 66 is, as the demand for agricultural goods fell and exports declined, peasants found it difficult to sell their harvest and pay their revenue. By 1930, the countryside was in turmoil. Question 67 is, who was Sir John Simon? Answer to question number 67 is, Sir John Simon came from England. He was sent by new Tory government of Britain to enforce a statutory commission to look into the functioning of the constitutional system in India. Question 68 says, why was Simon Commission rejected in India? Answer to question number 68 is, the problem was that the commission did not have a single Indian member. They were all British. Question 69 is, how was Simon Commission greeted in India? Answer to question number 69 is, when Simon Commission arrived in India in 1928, he was greeted with his slogan, "Go back Simon." All parties, including the Congress and Muslim League, participated in the demonstrations. Question 70 is, why was demand for abolition of salt tax made? Answer to question number 70 is, salt was something consumed by the rich and poor alike, and it was one of the most essential items of food. The tax on salt and the government monopoly over its production, Mahatma Gandhi declared it to be the most oppressive phase of British rule. Question number 71 is, how long was Dandi March and how much time did it take? Answer to question number 71 is, it was over 240 miles. Gandhiji walked for 10 miles a day and took 24 days to reach Dandi. Question number 72 is, how did Mahatma Gandhi declare civil disobedience movement? Answer to question number 72 is, on 6th April, Mahatma Gandhi along with his 78 followers and many others reached Dandi coast and ceremonially violated law manufacturing salt by boiling sea water. This marked the beginning of civil disobedience movement. Question number 73 is, why did rich peasant communities join civil disobedience movement? Answer to question number 73 is, they were hard hit by the trade depression and falling prices. As their cash income disappeared, they found it impossible to pay the government revenue demand, and the refusal of the government to reduce the revenue demand led to widespread resentment. Question number 74 is, how did poor peasants join civil disobedience movement? Answer to question number 74 is, poor peasants were not interested in the lowering of the revenue demand. As the depression continued and cash income dwindled, the small tenants found it difficult to pay their rents. They wanted the unpaid rent to the landlord to be remitted. Question 75 is, how did business classes relate to the civil disobedience movement? Answer to question number 75 is, they wanted protection against imports of foreign goods and a rupee sterling foreign exchange rate that would discourage imports. They now reacted against colonial policies that restricted business activities. Question number 76 says, which organization did business classes form? Answer to question number 76 is, to organize business interest, Indian Merchant and Nationalist forms the Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920 and the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, FICCI. Question number 77 says, name some prominent industrialists of that time. Answer to question number 77 is Purushottam Das, Thakur Das and G.D. Bigla. Question number 78 says, when was the Gandhi-Irwin Pact signed? Mention the provisions of the pact. Answer to question number 78 is, Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed on 5th March 1931. And the provisions of the pact were, first is, Gandhiji consented to participate in the second round table conference Second is, the government agreed to release the political prisoners. Question number 79 is, who was the writer of the book In Swaraj? What was the theme of the book? Answer to question number 79 is, Mahatma Gandhi wrote the book In Swaraj. In the book, Gandhi declared that the British rule was established in India with the cooperation of Indians and had survived only because of this cooperation. If India refused to cooperate, the British rule in India would collapse within a year as Swaraj would be established. Question number 80 says, mention any 4 factors which were responsible in arousing the spirit of nationalism in India. Answer to question number 80 is, first point is, political unification of the country under the Britishers. Point number 2 is, destruction of India's old social and economic system. Point number 3 is, development of modern trade and industry. Point number 4 is, the sense of being oppressed under colonialism provided a shared bond that tied many different. Question number 81 is, who wrote the song Vande Mataram? Answer to question number 81 is, Vande Mataram was written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. Question number 82 is, by what means does hand-spun khadi provide large-scale employment to weavers? Answer to question number 82 is, it provides large-scale employment to weavers as it is a cottage industry which can be set up at home. Question 83 is, what kind of Indian flag was introduced during Swadeshi movement? Answer to question number 83 is, a tricolor flag, red, green and yellow, was designed. It had 8 lotuses representing 8 provinces of British India and a crescent moon representing Hindus and Jews. Question number 84 is, what changes were brought in Indian flag by Mahatma Gandhi? Answer to question number 84 is, in 1921, Gandhiji had designed the Swaraj flag. It was again a tricolor which was red, green and white and had a spinning wheel in the center, representing the Gandhian ideal of self-help. Question 85 says, how was reinterpretation of Indian history used as a symbol of nationalism? Answer to question number 85 is, the British saw Indians as backward and primitive, incapable of governing themselves. In response, Indians began looking into the past to discover India's great achievement. The nationalist histories urge the readers to take pride in India's great achievements in the past and struggle to change the miserable conditions of life under British rule. Question number 86 is, who was Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay? Answer to question number 86 is, he was a Bengali poet, writer and a journalist. He wrote Vande Mataram as a hymn to motherland. Later on, it was included in his novel Anandamat and widely sung during the Swadeshi movement in Bengal. Question number 87 is, how was Bharat Mata depicted in the painting of Abhindranath Tagore? Answer to question number 87 is, in his painting, Bharat Mata was portrayed as an ascetic figure. She is calm, composed, divine and spiritual. Question 88 is, what was Muhammad Ali Jinnah's proposal for Muslims? Answer to question number 88 is, Jinnah, one of the leaders of Muslim League, was willing to give up the demand for separate electorates if Muslims were assured reserved seat in the Central Assembly and representation in proportion to population in the Muslim-dominated provinces of Bengal and Punjab. Question number 89 is, who created the first image of Bharat Mata? Answer to question number 89 is, the first image was created by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. Question number 90 says, in what way women participated in civil disobedience movement? Answer to question number 90 is, they participated in protest marches, manufactured salt and picketed foreign cloth and liquor shops. Question number 91 is, what was Pune Pact? Answer to question number 91 is, Pune Pact gave the depressed class reserved seat in provincial and central legislative council, but they were to be voted in by the general elections. Question number 92 is, what factors shaped Indian politics in 1920s? Answer to question number 92 is, the factors that shaped Indian politics in 1920s were, first is the global economic depression due to which agriculture prices fell and peasantry was hardened. Point number 2 is the arrival of Simon Commission in India to evaluate the constitutional system. Moreover, the commission had no Indian member, which angered the Indian masses even further. Question number 93 is, what was the impact of the First World War on India? Answer to question number 93 is, the war created a new economic and political situation. The point number 1 is, it led to a huge increase in defense expenditure, which was financed by war loans and increasing taxes. Custom duties were raised and income tax introduced. Point number 2 is, through the war years, prices increased, doubling between 1913 and 1918, leading to extreme hardship for the common people. Point number 3 is, villagers were called upon to supply soldiers, and the forced recruitment in rural area caused widespread anger. Question number 94 is, who launched the Khilafat movement and why was it launched? Answer to question number 94 is, Khilafat movement was a united struggle launched by Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali with the cooperation of Mahatma Gandhi. The First World War ended with the defeat of Ottoman Turkey. There were rumors that a harsh peace treaty was going to be imposed on the Ottoman Emperor, the spiritual head of the Islam world. The Sultan was deprived of the real authority even over those territories which were left under his control. This angers the Muslims in India. To defend the powers of Khalifa and to avert harsh peace treaty to be imposed on the Ottoman Empire, the Khilafat Committee was formed in 1919 in Bombay. Question 95 is, why Gandhiji supported the Khilafat movement? Answer to question number 95 is, as the Rowlatt Satyagraha was limited to cities and towns, Gandhiji felt the need to launch a more broad-based movements in India. But he was certain that no such movement could be organized without bringing the Hindus and Muslims close together. So he took up the Khilafat issue. Point number 2 is, a new generation of Muslim leaders like the Ali brothers, Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali, began discussing with Mahatma Gandhi about the possibility of a united mass action on the issue. Gandhiji saw this as an opportunity to bring the Muslim under the umbrella of unified national movement. Question number 96 is, describe briefly any 3 economic effects of the non-cooperation movement. Answer to question number 96 is, point number 1, boycott of foreign goods. People decided to boycott foreign goods and wear Swadeshi cloth and use Swadeshi goods. Point number 2 is, impact on imports. As people began discarding imported cloths, the import of foreign cloths halved between 1921 and 1922. Its value dropped from rupees 102 crores to rupees 57 crores. Point number 3 is, impact on Indian industry. As people decided to boycott foreign cloths, production of Indian textile mills and handloom went up. Question number 97 is, why did the tribal people join the non-cooperation movement? Answer to question number 97 is, most of the tribal people were dependent on forest for their livelihood. But under the new forest policy, the government had put several restrictions on the people. The first one is closing large forest area for the tribal people. Second is forcing the local people to contribute begar. Third is preventing people from entering the forest to graze their cattle or to collect food roots and fruits. Question number 98 is, why was this civil disobedience movement relaunched by Gandhiji? Answer to question number 98 is, first point is failure of the second round table conference. In December 1931, Gandhiji went to London for the conference, but the negotiations broke down and he returned disappointed. Point number 2 is new cycle of repression. Back in India, Gandhiji discovered that the government has begun a new cycle of repression. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan and Jawaharlal Nehru were both in jail. The Congress had been declared illegal and a series of measures had been imposed to prevent meetings, demonstrations and boycotts. With great apprehension, Mahatma Gandhi relaunched the civil disobedience movement. Question number 99 is, what was the motive of business class to participate in civil disobedience movement? Answer to question number 99 is, point number 1 is, the business class wanted protection against imports of foreign goods. Point number 2 is, they wanted to free the business from colonial restrictions. Point number 3 is, the business community interpreted Swaraj in their own way. They came to see Swaraj at the time when colonial restrictions on business would no longer exist and trade industry would flourish without constraints. Question number 100 says, why did the business community later on withdraw from the civil disobedience movement? Answer to question number 100 is, point number 1. After the failure of Roundtable Conference, business groups were no longer uniformly enthusiastic. Point number 2. They were apprehensive of spread of militant activities and worried about prolonged disruption of business. Point number 3 is, they were worried about the growing influence of socialism amongst the younger members of the Congress. Question number 101 is, why the industrial working class did not participate in the civil disobedience movement in large numbers? Mention any two demands of the workers who participated in the movement. Answer to question number 101 is, the industrial working class did not participate in the civil disobedience movement in large numbers except in Nagpur region. This was because industrialists were supporting the movement and Congress was reluctant to include workers' demand as a part of the movement. Demands of the workers were, they demanded higher wages, they demanded proper working conditions. Now we are going to start NCERT questions. Question 1 says, explain why is the growth of nationalism in the colonies linked to an anti-colonial movement? Answer to question 1 part A is, the growth of modern nationalism in the colonies is linked to the anti-colonial movement due to the factors as mentioned below. The first point is, people begin discovering their unity in the process of their struggle with the colonialism. The sense of being oppressed under the colonialism provided a shared bond that tied many different groups together. The next point is, as each class and group felt the effects of colonialism differently, their experiences were varied and their notion of freedom were not always the same. So the Congress under Mahatma Gandhi tried to forge this group together with one movement. And the next point is, thus in spite of differences and conflicts, different groups and communities came under the banner of Indian National Congress and took part in various movements which were anti-colonial or against the British. Question number 1 part B is, how did the First World War help in the growth of national movement in India? Or explain any 4 facts to show how did the First World War help in the growth of national movement in India? Answer to question number 1 part B is, the First World War helped in the growth of the national movement in India as it created a new economic and political situation as mentioned below. First is, the defense expenditure had increased, war loans were taken and more taxes were imposed. Custom duties were raised, income tax was introduced. The rise in prices led to extreme hardship for the people, and there was widespread discontentment in the rural area due to forced recruitment of soldiers. In 1918 and 1919 and 1920-21, crops failed in many parts of India, resulting in acute shortages of food. There was influenza epidemic too. According to the census of 1921, 12 to 13 million people perished as a result of famines and epidemic. People thought that their hardship and suffering would come to an end after the war. But that did not happen. So these factors were responsible for the rise of nationalism in India. Question number 1, part C is, why were Indians outraged by the Rowlatt Act? Answer to question number 1, part C is, Indians were outraged by the Rowlatt Act 1919 due to the following reason. The first one is, they had hoped that after the war their hardships would be over and the government would take steps to improve their conditions. Next point is, on the other hand, the government got the Rowlatt Act passed in the Imperial Legislative Council against the united opposition of the Indian members. The next point is, the Act gave the government enormous powers to repress political activities. It allowed detention of political prisoners without trial for 2 years. Next is, these provisions meant the suspension of 2 principles of justice, trial by jury and habeas corpus, the rights safeguarding against illegal imprisonment. Next point is, the Rowlatt Act was considered as black law and the Indians under the leadership of Gandhiji decided to oppose it by non-violent civil disobedience, which would start with a hartal on 6 April. Question 1, part D is, why did Gandhiji decide to withdraw the non-cooperation movement? Answer to question number 1, part D is, Gandhiji decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement due to the reasons as mentioned below. The first one is, the movement was turning violent in many places. Gandhiji thought that satyagrahis needed to be properly trained before they would be ready for mass struggles. This was in context of the incident at Chauri Chaura, a village in Gorakhpur district, UP, where 22 policemen were brutally killed after they had fired on a political procession. The next point is, there had been disturbances in Madras and Calcutta also. The above factors made it clear that the country was not yet ready for mass movement. So Gandhiji prevailed upon the Congress Working Committee to call off the movement. Question number 2 is, what is meant by the idea of satyagraha, or explain the idea of satyagraha according to Gandhiji? Answer to the question is, satyagraha is pure soul force. As it says, truth is very substance of the soul. That is why this force is called satyagraha. Next point is, the soul is informed with knowledge. It burns the flame of love. The next point is, non-violence is the supreme dharma. The next point is, the idea of satyagraha emphasized the power of truth and the need to search for truth. It suggested that if cause was true, if the struggle was against injustice, then a physical force was not necessary to fight the oppressor. And the next it says, without seeking vengeance or being aggressive, a satyagrahi could win the battle through non-violence. It says next, in satyagraha, people including the oppressor had to be persuaded to see the truth, instead of being forced to accept truth through the use of violence. In this way, this struggle, truth was bound to ultimately trump. Mahatma Gandhi believed that this dharma of non-violence would unite all Indians. Question 3, part A is, write a newspaper report on the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Answer to question number 3, part A is, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. A public meeting was announced for the 13th April 1919 at Jallianwala Bagh, Amritsar, to protest against the Rowlatt Act. The people were allowed to assemble there. After they had gathered there in thousands, General Dyer marched there with armored cars and troops. Without giving any warning to the people to disperse, he ordered firing on the unarmed and peaceful people. The casualties among the Indians were very heavy. Dyer's purpose in doing so was to produce a moral effect, to create in the minds of satyagrahis a feeling of terror and awe. This massacre of innocent people in thousands converted Mahatma Gandhi into a non-cooperator. Question number 3b says, write a newspaper report on the Simon Commission. Answer to question number 3b, part 1 is, the Indian members of the Central Legislative Assembly exposed the drawbacks in Government of India Act of 1919. As a result of it, the Simon Commission was appointed in 1927 to suggest any further constitutional reforms. This commission consisted of 7 members and its chairman was Sir John Simon. Point number 2 is, Indians boycotted the Simon Commission because there was no Indian member in this commission. The terms of the commission's appointment did not give any indication of Swaraj, while the demand of Indians was only Swaraj. Therefore, the Indian National Congress, the Muslim League and other parties decided to oppose the Simon Commission. Point number 3 is about the methods applied. Indian people organized hartals all over the country. They also held a black flag demonstration with the slogan, Simon Go Back, when the commission reached Bombay, or which is Mumbai nowadays. Such demonstrations were held everywhere he went. Question number 4 says, list all the different social groups which joined the non-cooperation movement of 1921. Choose any 3 and write about their hopes and struggles to show why they joined the movement. Answer to question number 4 is, in the non-cooperation movement, 1920 to 1922, mainly the following social groups took part. First one is middle class people in the towns. Second is peasants in the rural areas. Third is tribal people. Fourth is plantation workers. A. Middle class people in the towns. The movement started with middle class participation in the cities. Thousands of students left government controlled schools and colleges. Headmasters and teachers resigned and lawyers gave up their legal practices. Point number 2 is boycott of council elections. The council elections were boycotted in most provinces except Madras, which is Chennai nowadays, where the Justice Party, the party of non-Brahmins, felt that entering the council was one way of gaining some power, something that usually only Brahmins had access to. Point number 3 over here is adoption of Swadeshi. The non-cooperation movement had a great impact on the Indian textile industry. Swadeshi goods, especially cloth, got a great impetus. Foreign goods were boycotted, liquor shop picketed, and foreign cloth burnt in huge bonfires. Fourth point over here is impact on industry. In many places, merchants and traders refused to trade in foreign goods or finance foreign trade. Due to this, the demand for Indian textile mills and handlooms went up. The increase in demand provided a big relief to the vanishing textile industry of India. Now the part B is peasants in rural areas. Here the point number 1 is participants. In the countryside, the movement was led by peasants, tribals and local leaders. For example, in Awadh, it was Baba Ramchandra Sannyasi, who had earlier been to Fiji as an indentured labor. The movement here was not against the Britishers, but against talukdars and landlords. The problem of rural people were different from those of the urban people. Mainly, the problems were the talukdars and landlords were demanding very high rents and a variety of other taxes. Other point is, peasant had to do begar work at the landlord's farm without any payment. Next point is, The peasant had no security of tenure. They were regularly evicted so that they could acquire no security of tenure. The next point to discuss is ways of protest in countryside. The movement in the countryside had a different angle. In many places, Nai, Dhobi, Bands were organized by the panchayats to deprive the landlords of the services of the barbers, cobblers, washermen, etc. Even national leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru went to villages in Awadh to know the grievances of the people. By October, the Awadh Kisan Sabhas was set up, headed by Jawaharlal Nehru, Baba Ramchandra, and a few others. When the movement spread in 1921, the houses of talukdars and merchants were attacked. The movement turned violent, which was not liked by some of the Congress leaders. Now the point C is tribal people. Most of the tribal people were dependent on forests for their livelihood, but under the new forest policy, the government had put several restrictions on the people. Like first is closing large forest area for the tribal people. Next is preventing people from entering the forest to graze their cattle or to collect fuel wood and fruits. All these steps enraged the hill people. Not only were their livelihood affected, but they felt that their traditional rights were also being denied. So the people revolted. Next is the plantation workers. For plantation workers in Assam, freedom meant the right to move freely in and out of the confined space in which they were enclosed, and it meant a link with the village from which they had come. The government had passed the Inland Emigration Act of 1859, under which plantation workers were not permitted to leave the tea estates without permission, and in fact, they were rarely given such permission. When the plantation workers heard of the non-cooperation movement, thousands of them defied the authorities, left the plantations, and headed towards their homes. The plantation workers believed that the Gandhi Raj was coming and everyone would be given land in their own village. Question number 5 is discuss the Salt March to make clear why it was an effective symbol of resistance against colonialism. Answer to question number 5 is the Salt March was an effective symbol of resistance against colonialism because the first point is it was the first time that Indian leaders decided to violate law. People were now asked not only to refuse cooperation with the British, but also to break colonial laws. Next point is thousands of Indians in different parts of the country broke the salt law, manufactured salt, and demonstrated in front of the government salt factories. And the next point says, as the movement spread, foreign cloths were boycotted and liquor shops were picketed. Peasants refused to pay revenue and chowkidari taxes. Village officials resigned, and in many places, forest people violated forest laws, going into reserve forests to collect wood and graze cattle. Next is, worried by the development, the colonial government began arresting the Congress leaders one by one. This led to violent clashes in many places. Angry crowds demonstrated in the streets, facing armored cars and police firing. Many were killed. And the next point says, when Mahatma Gandhi himself was arrested, industrial workers in Sholapur attacked police posts, municipal buildings, law courts, and railway stations. All structures that symbolize the British rule. The next point is, the outcome of the movement was Gandhi-Irwin Pact, which was signed by Gandhiji with Irwin on 5th March 1931. By this Gandhi-Irwin Pact, Gandhiji consented to participate in the Round Table Conference in London, and the government agreed to release the political prisoners. Question number 6 is, imagine you are a woman participating in civil disobedience movement. Explain what the experience meant to your life. Or, women played a very important role in civil disobedience movement. Explain. Answer to question number 6 is, women participated in large numbers in civil disobedience movement. During the movement, thousands of women came out of their homes to listen to Gandhiji. They participated in protest marches, manufactured salt and picketed foreign cloth and liquor shops. Many were put to jail by the police. Moved by Gandhiji's call, they began to see service to the nation as sacred duty of women. Question number 7 says, why did the political leaders differ sharply over the question of separate electorate? Answer to question number 7 is, by the system of separate electorates, we mean such a system when people of one religion only vote for a candidate of their own religion. Using such a system was a mischief of the British government, who wanted to divide the people to weaken the national movement. By doing so, the British wanted to prolong their stay in India. The different political leaders differed over the question of separate electorates because of the following reasons. The first reason was the Congress leaders opposed the policy of British government in instigating different people in demanding separate electorates. They knew well that it was all the mischief of the British government who encouraged different people to ask for separate electorates, because such a policy would weaken the national movement and prolong British's stay in India. The Congress leaders were one and all in the favor of joint electorates. Point number 2 is the Muslim leaders like Muhammad Iqbal and Mr. Jinnah asked for separate electorate to safeguard the political interests of the Muslim. In their opinion, the majority of the people were Hindus, and so in the case of joint electorates, the Muslims would have little chance of winning the seats. As such, they would always be at the mercy of the Hindus. Point number 3 is the leader of the depressed classes, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, also asked for separate electorates because in the joint electorate, he feared the dominance of the upper electorates or the upper caste Hindus in the elections. By the Pune Pact, he however agreed to have joint electorates with the Hindus, provided the seats for the depressed classes were fixed or reserved in the provincial and central legislative council. And the outcome of this was Lord Irwin announced in October 1929 a vague offer of dominion status for India. Okay, let's now start with the picture questions. Question number 1 is, in which year this mass procession took place? And the correct answer is option number 2, 6 April 1919. This picture shows mass procession on streets and it became a common feature during the national movement. Question number 2 is, which of the following event was related to this image of Gandhiji? The correct option is option number 3, Dandi March. The Dandi March started from Sabarmati Ashram on 12th March 1930 as per schedule. Exactly at 6:30 in the morning, Gandhiji left the ashram with 78 followers and started the march. Many thousands joined on the way. Question number 3 is, which of the following event is related with the given image? And the correct option is option number 2, Jallianwala Bagh incident. On 13th April 1919, General Dyer with his troop entered the Jallianwala Bagh through a narrow alley, the only entry and exit plan. According to British estimates, 379 unarmed civilians were killed by Gurkha troops under the command of Brigadier General Reginald Dyer. Question number 4 is, which of the options best signifies the image? And the answer is option number 2, protest of Indian workers in South Africa. On November 6 in 1913, Mahatma Gandhi was arrested while leading to a march of Indian miners in South Africa. The protest was quite intense and even women were involved in the marches. Question 5 is, which of the following things is being held by the Jawaharlal Nehru in this image? And the option 2 is the correct answer, image of Bharat Mata. In this story of Bharat Mata, he is able to capture the powerful image of the nation evoked by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee to relate to India's land, environment and people. Question number 6 is, which of the following options best signifies the event in this given image? And the correct option is option number 3, the boycott of foreign cloth non-cooperation movement. The non-cooperation movement was in fact a boycott movement in which people started wearing only Indian cloth by discarding imported ones. Question number 7 is, with which event is this picture associated? And the answer is option number 2, calling of non-cooperation movement. Gandhiji called off the non-cooperation movement in 1922 because of the Chauri Chaura incident. In Chauri Chaura, angry villagers violently protested, and in the clash 22 policemen were killed. Gandhiji thought that the people need to be properly trained for peaceful satyagraha. Question number 8 is, about which event the Congress leaders are discussing at a meeting in Allahabad 1931. And the correct option is option number 3, general situation in India. On June 1931, Congress leaders such as Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, Rajendra Prasad, Sarojini Naidu, Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Raj Gopalachari and others gathered at Mani Bhavan with Gandhiji for a meeting to discuss the general situation in India. Question number 9 is, the procession shown in the picture relates to which movement? And the correct option is option number 2, Quit India movement. In Bombay, hundreds of women participated in the procession of Quit India. The Quit India movement was one of India's most iconic and historic national movements, uniting the country in a cohesive collective effort to demand independence. Question number 10 is, what does lion and elephant signify in this image of Bharat Mata? And the option is 4th one, power and authority. Bharat Mata became the most iconic image for the nationalist agenda to evoke popular imagination about independence and subsequently the free nation. The Trishul, lion and elephant beside Mata indicates the symbol of power and authority. Question number 11 is, how is Bharat Mata portrayed in this picture? The option first is divine, option 2 is spiritual, option 3 is aesthetic, and option 4 is all of the above. And the correct option is option number 4, all of the above. Rabindranath Tagore created the famous image of Bharat Mata as an aesthetic figure wearing saffron-colored cloths and carrying chain of beads cloth, palm leaves and scripture in her hands. Question number 12 is, which event is shown in this picture? First is demonstration, second is national movement, third is police handling satyagrahis, and fourth option is all of the above. And the correct answer is fourth, all of the above. On May 21, 1930, there was a protest against the Darsana salt work by peaceful non-violent protesters led by Sarojini Naidu. The police lathi-charged the protesters brutally, and it resulted in the deaths of 2 people with several others being injured. Question number 13 says, what aspect of Bal Gangadhar Tilak best signifies this image? And the correct option is option number 2, symbol of unity. Bal Gangadhar Tilak was a famous freedom fighter who fought with the British rulers for the sake of the motherland. In this picture, he is shown surrounded by symbols of unity. Question number 14 is, who is the third leader shown in the picture along with Jawaharlal Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi? And the correct answer is option number 3, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad. Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad was an Indian independence activist, writer and a senior leader of Indian National Congress. There are 2 maps in this chapter, so let's review those. In this map, we have to locate 3 positions on Indian National Congress session. The first one is Calcutta, which was held on September 1920. Second one is Nagpur, December 1920, and third one is Madras 1927. In this second map, we have to allocate important centers of Indian freedom movements. First is Champaran, Bihar, which is a movement of indigo planters. Second one is Kheda, Gujarat, Peasant Satyagraha. Third one is Ahmedabad, Gujarat, Cotton Mill Workers Satyagraha. Fourth one is Amritsar, Punjab, Jallianwala Bagh incident. Fifth one is Chaura Chauri, UP. calling of the non-cooperation movement, and the last one is Dandi, Gujarat, civil disobedience movement. Thanks for watching. I hope this will be very useful for you. So if you have liked this video, please like, share, comment and subscribe.